Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and small people. Welcome to the Racetech V8 ESC Sprint Series, brought to you live tonight from the short Oulton Park Foster's Circuit. And in the booth with me tonight, I have Pete B.
Evening, everybody.
And Mr. Bill Switzer.
Hello, everybody. Welcome.
And on the cameras tonight, for your enjoyment, is Mr. Sam Boozin. So tonight we bring you three 20-minute sprint races that look like they're going to be fast and furious. Pete, what do you think is going to happen tonight?
Well, there's a few new names in the grid, so some of them look to be very competent drivers as well, which probably make the front of the field a bit more competitive, if nothing else.
Yeah, definitely. Looking at the times in practice, we had Tony Kloosterman, I think, topping out the leaderboard there. But like you say, there's a few of the new names. Welcome to, and apologies for my pronunciation, Patrick Charette, Ignacio Pineo, and I'm on a roll here. This one's an easy one, Adam Delmont. Bill, what do you think tonight? Do you think it's going to be chaos, or do you think we're going to have some decent, close racing all the way through the grid?
Well, Clyde, if it's anything like practice, there's going to be some skirmishes and off-roaders, but being a tight, close course, I'm hoping things will be closed up and we'll have a lot of fender-to-fender racing.
Yeah, hopefully. I personally, I think this is going to be one of those courses, where you can't escape unless there's a big accident. I don't expect to see anybody disappearing into the scenery, apart from when they crash. First few laps coming in now from qualifying with Johnny Brandon and Rich Warmingham up the top. Pete, do you think we will see a new name on pole, or do you think it will be one of our old favourite drivers?
I think it's likely to be Johnny that pulls this one out of the bag. He's already put in the fastest lap, although Tony's just done him at that point. So what?
Yeah, Bill, I think, obviously we've just seen a 56.0 from Tony. Do you think anybody will get into the 55s in quad?
Yeah, I do. Big rivalry beginning to develop between Tony Kloosterman and Johnny Brandon, and I think they're both trying very hard, and I think you might see a 55. They're pretty darn close right now.
Yeah, from my very limited run-in on this layout of Oulton Park anyway, it's not one of those tracks where drivers are going to get a big tow from somebody else. It's all about corner exit, I think, round here. And possibly a few dive bombs, guys, do you think? Do you think there's going to be a bit of dodgy overtaking?
Without a doubt. There's also some areas on this track where your car goes very, very light over the top of hills and crests. So I think anybody that's doing any dodgy dives is going to get caught out every so often as well.
Yeah, and obviously, Pete, this is your local track. Your experience of driving it here on iRacing, how close is it to the real thing?
It's actually really close. It's mapped out in such a way that the real feel of where you would lose your connection with the track is identical. It's really good.
Yeah, I must admit, I've only ever been here once, I believe, in real life. Just from where I live in the UK, it's like on the other side of the world. It's probably closer for me getting to Bathurst than it is to Oulton Park. But what I do remember is the hotel we stayed in had an extremely good Indian restaurant next to it. I don't know why, I just remember food from racetracks. But back to tonight. So we have Tony Kloosterman currently sitting on pole position, provisional pole, I should say, with a 56.011. 2/10 behind him, Johnny Brandon, and then 3/10 behind Johnny is Gary Croft. We're only halfway through. Still plenty of things can change. Let's talk about races 2 and 3. So full reverse grids, which includes every driver. Do you think we're going to get a surprise winner tonight?
I think you're going to end up with carnage in the second one. That's going to be... if you think about the width of this track, it's one of the more narrow tracks. There's not that many places to get by absolutely safely, and if you're coming through at a right rate of knots, you're going to be ending up taking...
Yeah, I understand that, but again, because it's a narrow track, if a one of the new guys, or one of our slower guys from the series gets out in front, it's quite easy to make this car wide, and with a narrow track, do you think it's possible to hold out for 20 minutes?
I definitely think it's possible. What I don't think is that there's certain drivers here with enough patience to hold back behind someone.
Clyde, I'm sorry, excuse me, Clyde. I'm inclined to agree with you, depending on what the reverse brings. If you have a middle of the packer or above get toward the front for the second race, I think there's a very good chance you could win the race.
Yeah, as I said, Bill, don't forget this series. We do full reverse grids of everybody that's actually in the race, even if your lap's down. So it's going to be, the fast guys should, in theory, win race 1, and then in race 2 they've got to battle their way all the way through everybody that's in the session to try and get another win. Personally, I think I'm not convinced that we'll ever see a triple race winner in this series using this format.
No, highly unlikely. And when you consider this track has, in this format, is such a short lap time, you've got lots and lots of corners. The faster guys make up all their time in the corners rather than on the straights, because they know how to gear their car for it, and they know how to approach slow and get out fast. Means they'll make up a lot more time on the guys at the front who possibly in a higher position but slower over the track.
Yeah, that's certainly true, Pete. Obviously we're going to have lap times of under a minute, which means we're going to be doing 21 laps per race. I think if you're a slower car in this, and you get pole position in one of the reverse grid races, I think you pray that there's a big accident from second down to 10th. And then you just make your car as wide as possible for the next 19 laps.
Yeah, I think positioning your car on the track, particularly at the slower corners, in such a way that isn't blocking, you're not moving in the braking zone, but you can certainly make your car unpassable. I just wonder with the faster guys whether they've got the patience to sit behind them and use their slingshot maneuver out of a corner to carry it down the straight and get around them that way.
Yeah, I do. I think defending around here, obviously it's a clockwise circuit, predominantly right-hand turns. So if you position your car on the right-hand side of the track going into the turn, in theory you can, slow the faster guy down at the apex and then get out of the corner still in front. But I believe there's a couple of corners on the track, and I don't know the names, but the outside is almost as grippy as the inside, so even a stout defence might not be good enough.
Yeah, you can certainly get a good advantage over someone at Deer Leap. That's the one leading on to the main straight, and when you come round Old Hall and you're going down the avenue, that's a prime opportunity to get the legs on somebody into that braking zone.
Just a word of note, Chris Jackson is on the track now, so apparently he's here.
Excellent.
Oh, looks like Chris's baby making schedule is fitted in with the racing schedule tonight. Then
I can't believe you just said that.
I couldn't not mention that. So we got we got less than a minute left in qualifying. Checkers are out. We're just waiting for people to finish their laps, and currently we have Tony Kloosterman on pole. Didn't quite break the 55s. Johnny Brandon in second, and Harold Stadler in third. Not sure if there's anybody still on a lap. As I say that, Chris Jackson is, and he's bailed.
He just broke it off.
So I think, guys, that will be our starting grid has been finalised. I know of at least one car that may be starting from the pit lane.
We show 3 cars with no times. Adam McNally, Ronald Moons, and Michael Mueller.
Okay, so let's run you down the grid for race 1. So, pole position, Tony Kloosterman. Second, Johnny Brandon. Third, Harold Stadler. Fourth, Gary Croft. Third row, Rich Warmingham and Nikolai Bogatyrev. And Pete, I'll let you carry on with the next one.
Thanks for that. I love you. Next, we've got Ignacio Pineno. Then we've got Patrick Charette, Lane O'Connor, and Bengelite, or Bengelet, sorry. Then Adam Delmont, the one that Clyde could say at the beginning. Greg Branch, Mike Frost, Andrew Hoffman, Chris Jackson, and then the 3 posting no times was Adam McNally, Ronald Moons, that's an odd one because he did really well in practice, and Michael Muller.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Pete. So, guys, as we wait for the drivers to grid, you see any change at the top at the end of the race, or do you think things are going to pretty much finish as they start?
I think there's people behind Harold that are potentially faster than him. That might be a check.
And obviously, it'll also be interesting to see how the new drivers to the series get on. We've all raced this car for a few years now, and it does tend to get a bit lively. But the cars are on the grid, and we're waiting for the lights. Green, 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 and away we go. Fairly clean so far. Okay, so Tony Kloosterman leads them off. No change in position at the top yet.
Mike Frost is off. He's returning. Looks like he had help. I didn't see who helped him, but
It wasn't me.
me either. And Ben Gillet is missing his boot lid. Yeah, we got somebody off.
Yeah, we've got one of the new guys as well.
77.
Yeah, that'll be Adam Delmont, yes, dropping down the order.
Yeah, he was on his own with that one.
Greg's car's looking very second-hand.
Somebody off just into Foster's.
Patrick Charette is on 2 wheels as well. That was impressive.
Yeah, that was Ben doing a bit of gardening with no boot lid as well.
Okay, Tony Kloosterman through Druids coming up over Deer Rise
At
Hill,
least
whatever.
10 cars.
Johnny Brandon right behind. Well, not right behind, but seems like he's closing.
Yeah, I think at this moment in time, it does look like Tony's got the measure on Johnny for a little while, but we all know how wily Johnny can be.
Yeah, he sometimes has more in the tank, doesn't he, later on in the race?
Know how wily.
Johnny has certainly become a head student of this car, that's for sure.
So obviously lap times are a little bit slower in the race, but we have got Tony Klusterman still leading, Johnny Brandon in second, and Harold Stadler in third.
Yeah, from third back is a pretty good close pack right there. 4 or 5 cars, pretty close.
Tony's eked out a second and a half over Johnny, and then I think Johnny's got about a second and a half over Harold at the moment. We're currently on lap 4, so we've probably got 16, 17 laps still to go, maybe.
Yeah, Gary's getting some attention from Rich Warmingham at the minute. Gary's got limited traction at certain points.
Yeah, it looks like Rich is carrying a bit more speed into the corners than Gary, but I think Gary's managing just about to get on the throttle at least the same time as Rich to keep him at bay on the way out. But his car does look very loose.
He does, yeah. And Chris Jackson's just come up to the back of the lane. O'Connor's.
What do you think's going on with Gary then, guys? Do you think he's trying too hard and probably burned the tyres up a little bit, or do you just think he's running a loose setup?
It's easy to burn the tyres up when you've got these crests on this track, and you've got some sharp braking points as well. So it's likely that he's done that.
And what do? You know, if you've got a guy behind you that is quicker, do you fight tooth and nail and risk ruining your tyres with these sprint races, or you know, is it worth letting them go, trying to stay on their tail, waiting for them to burn the tyres up, and then go, you know, try and pass them?
I think you got to kind of take that as it comes. It depends on the situation, but in a short race, I think you got to kind of go for it, to be honest.
I think you look one car ahead of the car in front of you and see what your options are there. If the guy one car in front is someone you're simply not going to catch, then you'd sit behind until you found a safe opportunity to pass the one.
True.
Okay, and if the shoe's on the other foot, so you're the guy behind, you think the guy in front of you is slower, you know, how much patience do you allow, or you know, do you see that half an inch gap and put your 4 foot wide car in it?
I think you press your luck as much as you can safely, show as much of the front of your car along the side, and see what see if you can work a mental game with the car in front.
I know from experience it is, you know, there are certain drivers that you can pressure into a mistake. You know, you don't have to show your cards. You don't have to put your nose where it's not wanted. You know, you just get as close to the back of their car as possible, knowing that at some point they're going to outbrake themselves, or you know, lock up the brakes or something, and give you an easy pass. So, you know, you don't always have to, you know, be given 110%.
No, that's true. There's safe passing and there's not safe passing in there, and sometimes you can get the better of you. I'm one of those people that can be intimidated on a track, and will push when someone's giving me pressure, and that usually ends up with me in a bush or reversing into a sign or something.
Well, I wasn't going to mention any names.
Yeah, Chris Jackson a lap ago got into the back of Lane O'Connor and lost some time there, but he's soldiering on.
With a tiny lead at the minute, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tony's got about 4 seconds over Johnny at the moment. There's a very, very good midfield battle going on from Nikolai backward.
For sure. Ignacio's closing in on Patrick pretty closely. Oh, he just lost it a little bit. He's okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Patrick's the cork in the bottle there.
It certainly looks like it at the moment.
Sure does.
Ignacio's really giving him some pressure. If Ignacio could sort out the fishtailing on his car, I think he'd have a lot of traction and a lot of drive.
Chris Jackson's very close to Lane O'Connor. Look like he's ready to make a move here.
Yeah, he's got the crosshairs on him, hasn't he?
Yeah,
For sure.
and I think Patrick's keeping all 3 of these interested.
Definitely.
Michael Muller's pulling himself forward in the grid as well.
Here's a chance between Patrick
Yeah.
and Ignacio.
I think he's going to get him. Yep.
Yeah, that's going to leave
Well
the
placed.
door open for Lane maybe as well.
And for Chris. Chris is squaring this up as well. Oh, and Chris is gone.
Wow, he caught it. That was
wow.
a great save.
That was a great
What a
save
save.
by Chris. Yeah, that looked like a bit too much rear brake bias to me.
He does run with heavy brake bias though, doesn't he? It's part of what he does.
Yeah. Okay, so we switch and have a look at the replay of that move.
Yeah, and once Ignacio's got past... Oh no, sorry, once Patrick's got past, he's making way now.
Patrick is all kinds of sideways out of every corner at the moment. That is really making Lane interested.
Yeah. Got the magnets on him now, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether Chris has overeaten his tyres as well. He just seems to have held off, although he's just closed right up on Lane as I said that, just to call me a liar. It's a cracking battle,
As
this.
far as I understand it.
Apologies to Tony for not featuring him too much, but, you know, it's pretty boring up the front.
Whoa.
Oh, there's lots of cars sliding around now. Lane's finally been done by Chris, I think.
Yeah, very nice pass by Chris.
Yeah, perfect. Don't tell him I said that.
We won't.
Yeah, next up he's got Sideways Patrick to contend with.
He's got lack of traction coming out of that turn though.
And I think as well, if Patrick manages to hold Chris up, Lane is going to be interested in Chris again. So that could be quite interesting, this little battle.
Oh, yeah.
Saying that, I think Lane must have just made a mistake because he's dropped off the back of Chris now.
It looks to me like Gary Croft is closing in on the back of Harold's car. He's definitely taken some time out of him on the last couple.
Yeah, it looks like there's only about half a second between them at the moment. I think this battle between Patrick and Chris is about to go one way or the other. You know, knowing Chris and driving with him for a couple of seasons, and you know he's been in the main series for a while. He is one of those drivers that, you know, if there's a gap, he'll go for it, and if there's not a gap, he'll go for it as well.
Yeah, there's a bit of hero to zero, or hero or zero going on there.
Wow,
Okay, so
that's very close. Wow.
Race is going so quickly. Chris is
Chris is
right.
all over Patrick.
Yeah, he's having a look at what he had for dinner at the moment. A lot of the cars are very loose over that that little bump, Pete. I don't know what if that's got a name.
Yeah, I don't know, I've forgotten it already.
Luckily, we brought some local expert knowledge in tonight, folks.
Don't you think, though, Clyde, that Chris has matured quite a bit in the seasons he's been here? He was a lot wilder than, years ago, and he really is a calculating driver.
I do. I do wind Chris up a lot because I know Chris can take it because he's a good guy.
Yeah.
But you're right. From the Chris Jackson 3 years ago when we started, is a totally different Chris Jackson that races with us now.
For sure. Well, his nickname in some circles used to be Crash Jackson, but you really can't call him that anymore, that's for sure.
Shame we haven't got Victor in tonight because I know Victor likes the show. With Pat finally, just too much at it and let Chris go.
He lost it out of Druids.
And Lane's got him as well. I was really enjoying that battle.
Yeah, everybody's fairly strung out now.
Yeah, I think the Gary and Rich show is still on, although I watched for a lap. Gary seems a bit more in control than he was before, which is not really giving Rich any opportunity to get his nose in there and have a go at him. Up the front, Tony has now got 10 seconds on Johnny. I'm sure Johnny's not going to be very happy about that.
No,
especially with the main series being here next weekend. So, and for those of you that don't know, we're going to be starting our podcasts tomorrow night. The first one is going to be myself, Tony, and Johnny. It will be broadcast live. We do encourage people to get on there, post some questions in the chat that we'll try and answer for you. Maybe I might even mention to Johnny how terrible he's done in the first race tonight. You never know.
Break it to him gently, of course.
Harold's driving a very smart race. As they seem to close in on him, he seems to be able to put that distance back on him again. Of course, Gary's having a heck of a fight. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think Patrick finally succumbed to the car. He has been fishtailing for the whole race, so good effort from Patrick. I hope he comes back for race 2 and race 3 because, as we all know, this car is one of those that you can't just jump in and drive. You've got to put seat time into it and get used to its little quirks, shall we say?
It can bite you in a hurry.
Practice.
Oh, it certainly can. And bite you hard.
Yep.
Now, I've just noticed a little battle.
Chris is closing in on Ignacio again.
Yeah, that's the one I've spotted. Dacia looking really smart in his Racetech League default livery.
I wonder if Chris has time to get him by him. Oh, he's going after him. He might have him. Nope.
He's going to back out of that one. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
that's one of
almost
them
touched him
corners,
on-
isn't it? You stick your nose in there and it's likely to get chopped off.
He gets him in the braking zones, doesn't he? And then loses him on the straight.
When we raced here in a prior season, Jonathan Palmer actually sent me a bill for all the landscaping I did on his green grass.
That's every track, isn't it, Bill?
More so on this one.
You know they call you the gardener in the UK.
The landscaper, yep.
Okay, so Tony's now got 12 seconds on Johnny Brandon.
Wow.
I'm going to have to mention that tomorrow.
What a dominating performance, wow.
I've just done a lap on board with Tony, and it just looks like sheer panic for the whole lap.
Chris is lining Ignacio up now.
Boy, talk about an E for effort. He's really going after.
Wow. Yes, he's not going to be waiting to the end of the race, is he?
They're coming into Druids now, right? Yep.
Yeah.
You know, I know Tony's going to be cool and calm, but, you know, it really does look hairy from his cockpit view anyway. Like I say, he'll be sat there nice and cool with his Superman PJs on, probably. Okay, so we're on board with Tony at the moment. You get the sense when the back end of the car is stepping out. I think Tony's now going on to the final lap by the looks of the timer. He can afford to slow down if he needs to. 13 seconds over Johnny.
Oh, Chris got him. Out of Druid. Massive performance. Wow.
Yeah, so that put Chris up to what, 7th, 8th?
7th place, yep.
Okay, only a couple of turns left now for Tony.
Just entering the penultimate corner, proper corner.
Yeah, up the hill, over to the left, and over the line. Well done, Tony Klusterman, winner of race 1.
By a long margin as well.
Dominating performance.
And Johnny Brandon over the line in 2nd. And Harold Stadler in 3rd. Well, guys, bit of excitement in that race. Bit of racing from the back from Chris. Domination up front from Tony. Yeah, well, was that expected, do you think? Personally, I thought, Johnny would have been a lot closer to him.
Well, my money was on Johnny, like I said at the start. I'm actually very surprised he was so far off Tony's P.
Yeah, likewise. That's usually a pretty close battle, and usually, lately, Tony's been the bridesmaid, but this time he did a great job.
Yeah, you certainly can't take that win away from Tony. That was probably, in a 20-minute race to finish 16 seconds ahead. That's that takes some doing. That does.
Yes, it does. And I think Tony really needed that. He probably wishes it was one of the official races coming next week, but the way he's running, that could be a possibility as well.
Yeah, definitely. Although I do like my conspiracy theories. I'll just throw this out there to everybody. Tony, is Johnny keeping something back for the main series?
He could very well be. We
Answers
know
on a
that
postcard.
he's crafty.
I'll see if I can pull some information out of him tomorrow. So we'll just wait for Sam, our silent Bob of the team, to get the race results up for us. And there we go, guys. If the results are up, if you guys want to read through the results, I shall bid you farewell for a short while and go and set up race 2.
Go on then, Bill. Your turn. I've not got it on my screen right now.
Well, I don't either, but I have the results on the side, so I'm pretty sure they're official. Tony Klusterman came in first, followed by Johnny Brandon, 15 plus seconds behind, followed by Harold Stadler in third. Gary Croft came home fourth. Richard Warmington came in fifth. Nikolai Bogatrev sixth. Chris Jackson seventh. Started 15th. Picked up 8 places. Lane O'Connor finished 8th. Ignacio Panini ninth. Ronald Moon's 10th. Greg Branch 11th. One of the new guys, Adam Delmont 12th. Ben Delay 13th. Rich Mueller 14th. Patrick Charette after his off-road excursions 15th. Andrew Hoffman 16th. Michael Frost 17th. And Adam McNally, I don't see that he started, but he shows 18th.
Okay, cheers for that, Bill.
Thank you.
So, join us again in about 20 minutes' time for race 2.
Don't go away. This ought to be a good one.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Racetech V8 ESC Sprint Series, Race 2, coming to you from the Oulton Park Fosters Circuit. Pete Bingham has sadly left us to go and get his hair done. So in the booth with me is Mr. Bill Switzer.
Good evening again, and I don't have to worry about that. I don't have any hair, so I don't have to have my hair done. But anyway, welcome back.
And our very own Silent Sam in the booth. So, race 2, reverse grid. Bill, now we know from experience these can quite often lead to carnage, even though we haven't got the largest fields in V8 history. So, what do you think?
Oh, it's definitely going to happen somewhere along the line, probably as the eager guys in the back try to make it to the front. But you never know. It may be clean, but I kind of doubt it. We'll have a few here and there, but it ought to be exciting.
So, race 1, dominant win for Tony. Probably on average 0.8 of a second quicker than Johnny Brandon. Tony will be starting at the back. Now, with that kind of pace, what do you think his chances are of getting through to the front?
I don't think it's really going to happen, to be honest with you. I think he'll get up pretty close, maybe a top 5, but I don't think he's going to win. He certainly has a capability of it, but I find it suspect the amount of time difference between Tony and Johnny because they're usually very, very close. But it remains to be seen. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, like I say, 0.8 of a second. It's for them two guys, that's that might as well just be 10 seconds. It's a phenomenal amount of time for Tony to be gaining over Johnny. So, if those two are not going to come through, we had a very good showing from Chris Jackson. He's a possible winner. Harold, he's going to be starting near the back, so he's got to come through quite a few people. But, Gary Croft, Rich Warmingham, maybe. Who do you think, Bill? Who's going to shine in this race?
Totally agree. I agree with you. I think, like you mentioned, I think Chris Jackson's a definite candidate. Lane O'Connor, Rich Warmington, Gary Croft probably have pretty good chances of being toward the front in this race. So it ought to be very interesting to see different players fighting for the front in this race.
Yeah, obviously we're now running in afternoon conditions, so we're looking at a track temp of 101 degrees Fahrenheit. A lot of cars were slip sliding about for the morning sessions of this one, unless they do something radical with the tyre pressures or the dampers, they're going to be slip sliding a whole lot more. So, are we going to see, people making passes purely through other drivers' mistakes, or do you think being race 2 and a reverse grid, we're gonna, see the old nose up the inside and do whatever you're gonna do, but I'm coming through anyway?
I would expect all of the above. I certainly hope. I'm sure the seasoned guys will know enough, but I certainly hope they at least adjust their tire pressures with that kind of track temperature. That's pretty warm, and like you said, it's slick to begin with. This is not known as a real high traction track, and with all the undulations, tight corners, and so on, it ought to be very interesting and probably a little, what should I say, trading paint.
Yeah, nice plug there for Trading Paints. I didn't realise you was working for them, Bill.
No. But,
well,
hey.
I think, either way, it is only a 20-minute race. But, and I say this as a big but, we saw in race 1, Chris. Now, We spoke a little bit about it during the race. He used patience. He gained positions, come up through the field. So there's no reason why the other guys can't do it.
Oh, indeed, for sure. Totally agree. It's all going to be dependent how much carnage and spin outs and off tracks we get with the guys that are up front in the middle of the pack. That's going to have a definite bearing on how the guys in the back can work their way through the field.
Okay, so the cars are gridding. We have Patrick Charette on pole with a couple of people not turning up for this race.
Yeah, I show Mike Frost on pole. I don't see him here.
Yeah, I think it should have been Andrew Hoffman, but I think both Hoffman and Frost are missing for this race. So I've got Charette going to lead them off at the moment. And we're green. Oh, 36. Who are you? Oh,
That's Patrick. Patrick Charette.
yeah, Patrick had a terrible start.
And Gillet and third. He's going to lose to who? Is it our new man, Adam Delmont? Yep.
Yeah, Rich Warmingham's had a crash. Oh, and Tony, and I don't know who else that was. Was it Johnny? Yeah, it just.
Oh boy.
I actually just switched to them live, and it looked as if Tony gave Johnny a nudge, which just sent Johnny round, and Tony's got nowhere to go and straight into the back of him. I don't know what sort of damage them guys have got, but that might. Well, it was hard for them to win anyway, but it's going to be even harder now.
Tony's missing the rear end of his car, basically, and Johnny ruined his paint job on the passenger side of his vehicle.
Chris Jackson is disconnected as well. Did anyone see what happened to Chris?
No.
Okay, so up the front, we've got Mick Mullard is in the lead. Surprisingly for him, he's got a very clean car at the moment. And Patrick, after his really bad start, is now starting to put the pressure on Mick. So, yeah, this could be a good battle for the lead.
And Ben Gillet's hanging in there in third place.
Yeah, Ben, I can't get in the server, has managed to get in the server.
We still have Adam Delmont in fourth.
Ronald Moons, Mr. Racing in Socks, is sat in fifth place. Where's Tony and Johnny? Yeah,
Tony's in 11th, Johnny's in 12th.
Yeah, currently 13 and 15 seconds behind the leader. So, yeah, that's going to take some doing.
Oh, is he? Aha. Whoa. There was a diver from Patrick.
Yeah, he managed to get it collected, though, didn't he?
Yep, no harm, no foul.
I think that would have been a code brown from Mick if he saw that.
Definitely. Ben Gillet's using all the track and then some.
Okay, so Chris Jackson isn't racing in this race, so we're going to drag him into the booth. Chris Jackson is muted. Chris
hello.
Jackson, welcome to the booth.
Hello, gentlemen.
And why are you not in the race?
Wife aggro. So we're about to head to the in-laws, and she put her hammer down and said no go for this.
Ah, is this all to do with the baby making schedule?
Not that, no. It's a hot day. We're heading over to the in-laws, and she wants to go jump in the pool, and so she said, not a chance. You're doing another.
That's a shame, Chris. Nice job in the first race, picking up 7 or 8 positions there. You did a great job.
Not an easy track to pass on. Wow, it's going to be pretty intense next week, I think, and even for these sprint races.
You did excellent. I was really impressed the way you got by people, especially the last guy you caught up with before the checkered flag. Amazing, pass him in Druids. That was a great pass.
I think he made a bit of a mistake. I didn't think I was going to get a run on him like I did that time. I don't know if you guys caught in the broadcast. I think you were on board with O'Connor, but I was 90 degrees to the track sliding sideways. I gave him a little bump. It was kind of a 4-man jamble, so I was very lucky to not bid it. So don't know if that was caught or...
Just to butt in, sorry guys. Patrick Charay has dropped down to 4th place. Ben Gillet has moved up to 2nd, and is now putting a hell of a lot of pressure onto Mick Mullen.
Oh yeah, those guys are mates too. This ought to be interesting.
But interesting, we've got new guys in 3rd and 4th position.
Really great. Yep, Adam Delmont and Patrick Charette.
Yeah, and
Patrick...
just going back to Chris there, yeah, shame you obviously can't make race 2 and race 3, but as Bill was saying, we was very, very surprised, delighted, all of the above, with your running in race 1. You showed a lot of patience, and just managed to, pick people off to move up through the field as far as you got up there. A new Chris Jackson has been born, maybe?
Maybe. It's better to finish races than crash out, right? So, no, I thought my tires, I might be able to hold them off a little bit, but or keep them good for longer, which I wasn't. I was driving pretty hard at some points and cooking them, so it took a little bit to gain back up to or lost ground that I lost. But yeah, I knew there's a few spots, had to be patient, and hopefully they make mistakes. If you put pressure on them, chances are a few laps in tricky, busy track that maybe they will.
So what do you look for as far as your outlook for next weekend, Chris? What do you think is going to happen?
Qualifying, I think, is huge. So I think everyone's going to be putting in work for qualifying for race 1. Get a good clean lap, get to the start of the field. Race 2 and 3 is going to be, I think, coming down to a bit of luck, avoiding some damage, keeping a clean car, and trying to get no 1Xs. I think that's whoever gets the most points on the weekend, I think, will be the person who gets the bonus points and keeps it clean and straight.
Another thing we wanted to ask you, we were a little bit surprised at the margin that Tony beat Johnny in the first race. Did that surprise you?
Actually, I think last season Tony had a huge gap too on the XVR guys. So this is a track that just meshes with Tony. He's super fast. Such a tough benchmark to stay with when we're practicing and running with. He's 3/10, 4/10 of a lap quicker, and he doesn't fall off. So he's got this track down pat.
Well, he won that race in a dominating fashion. No two ways about that.
Yeah, we threw it out there, Chris, because we like a good conspiracy theory on here, that maybe Johnny has sat there putting sand in bags and saving it for next weekend. But you think Tony is just that much faster? Because it probably averaged about 8/10 a lap, which is huge around a small track like this.
Yeah, I don't think he's 8/10 a lap quicker. I think he may be 2 to 3/10. I think when Johnny realized his pace, that just put in clean laps and secure his position. The only problem is Tony's shown his cards how fast he is here. So those XVR boys have a benchmark, and they'll definitely put in the work. So that gap will come down, I guarantee, by next week.
Okay, Chris. Well, thanks for popping in and having a chat. Enjoy your swim. Don't drink too much, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Cheers. Good luck, everyone.
Catch
Take
you
care,
later.
Chris.
So, whilst we was just having a little chat there with Chris, we missed a pass for the lead. I can't get in the servers. Yalay is now taking the lead from Mick Mullard. And Patrick Charette is back up into third place ahead of Adam Delmont. And Adam has got half a second over an established faster driver in the series, Nikolai Bogatyrev. So, yeah, new faces up the front, and just watching Ben as well. He's not slowing down either.
Whoa. Mueller just slid off the course. He dropped to 6th, I believe. It's a nice little battle, 2 through 6 there.
Yeah, very good battle there with, I'm watching Adam Delmont and Nikolai Bogatyrev at the moment. Nikolai is just itching to put a move on him, but it's difficult around this track. As Chris alluded to when we interviewed.
Yeah, I see Harold Stadler's in the middle of that mix, too. He seems to be very patient at this point.
I think at some point Nikolai just needs to close his eyes and throw a Hail Mary and see what happens. That's what I'd do anyway. That's why I'm so good in this car.
I've been known to do that myself. Never got any really good results, but some of these guys can, I guess.
Yeah, Nikolai's in a bit of a tricky spot, really, because he's trying to attack Adam, but also trying to defend from Patrick, who's trying to defend from Harold, who's trying to defend from Gary, and they're slowing each other down, and Ben's disappearing away into the distance.
For sure, absolutely. Wow, Ben Gillet's got a 3.5 second lead at this point. That's pretty decent.
And to be fair, it's good to see Ben. It's good to see Ben racing for one. Ben had a rough couple of months a little while ago, but he's back now, angrier than ever. And Ben and this car. This is going to be a commentator's curse, I know it is, but they've never properly gelled Ben and the car. But a win, even in the sprint series, a lot of what we do is confidence based. So that's going to give Ben a hell of a lot of confidence going into next weekend if he knows he's won a race around here and he's got a setup that can handle the conditions.
Most definitely. It's nice to see some of the Phantom Sim Racer guys back in this car again. They kind of vacated for a while, but I guess they're giving it a go again. And right now they're showing pretty decent results.
And talking about giving it a go, Patrick is he's now alongside Nikolai. He's not going to make the pass here, I don't think, but he is sideways on every corner.
I was going to say, he must have been a drifting driver before he got involved.
We need to check what his iRating is for Rallycross, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think he's using the brake pedal. I think he's using the handbrake.
Well, sliding like that, I'm surprised he has any rear tires left.
And then Harold and Gary sat behind them. We're almost 3/4 of the way through the race. Something's got to give shortly. They're either going to have to say, look, we're happy with 5th and 6th, or we're getting up there with Patrick and we're going to start forcing our way through.
most definitely. Rich Warmington's working on Mick Mueller's rear bumper right now. Very, very close race.
Yeah, and I think Tony's closing in on that pair as well. So, Patrick again. I think Patrick would be a second a lap quicker if he was just pointing in the right direction all the time.
Yeah, he's like taking the long way around.
And Nikolai from being on, on Adam's back bumper, he's now dropped. He's nearly 2 seconds behind because of the defending he's doing from Patrick.
Yep. Patrick's doing a great job keeping Harold Sadler behind him as well.
So, Ben still up front. Oh, Patrick's going for it again, round the outside over the start finishing line. I think he might have him this time. Yeah,
good.
and there's
Harold.
Yeah, I thought, good fight by Nikolai, but he's
Harold's
lost
trying to follow through. Harold's going to get him as well. Yep.
Now it'll be interesting to see if Patrick can chase Adam down. Although Adam is slowly reeling in Ben. I don't know whether Ben's, gap managing or whether he's cooked his tyres getting it into the lead.
Yeah, he's holding about 2.4 seconds at the moment.
Tony's also passed Rich Warmingham. He'll now be after Mick Mullen.
Okay.
Harold's putting all kinds of pressure onto Patrick now.
Oh, Patrick, back on track. I kind of got squirrely there.
Yeah, he just managed to gather it up in time, didn't he?
Oh my goodness. Oh, boy. There he goes.
Oh, rock circuit. That's a shame for Patrick. He was holding on quite well then.
He was doing a great job.
Now, does Harold sniff a podium? 3 seconds behind Adam. And Adam's only 1.6 behind Ben now.
He's gaining on him, yep.
And Nikolai's having a go at Harold. It's all happening in this race.
This is terrific. Great racing. That's a nice three-car battle right there. Harold, Nikolai, and Gary Croft.
Gary's like the silent assassin. He doesn't say much. He just, but he's always there.
Definitely a contender.
If I know from my racing with Gary, I consider myself quite good at defending, but one micro mistake and Gary's got you. I don't know how he does it sometimes. It pisses me off.
Enough. Sorry, Warmington, what?
You got Rich Warmingham all over Mick Mullen.
Oh,
Mick is throwing a car about. He's obviously been taking lessons from Ben, I think.
Yeah, we've shifted into reckless abandon right now.
Although track temp's now 100 degrees, so we've gone down 1 degree. Not that the drivers are going to notice that, but the tyres are going to be mush by now.
Okay, Adam seems to be still closing on Ben after they cross the line. We'll see what kind of gap they have.
Mick's cooking up the dirt and all sorts, getting around this track, and there's 3 guys behind him just waiting for a mistake.
Okay, Ben Goulet and Adam Delmont are still about the same, 1.4 seconds up.
Yeah, and I think Harold's. I don't think there's enough time for Harold to get in amongst those two. Closest battle we got at the moment, I think, is Nikolai and Gary, and then obviously this train of 4 cars being headed up by Mick Muller. And I've noticed, Bill, as well, with a lot of the passes here, you make a mistake, one car goes down the inside and you can't get back in again. So, is Mick Muller out of fuel? Mick has just lost all 3 of those places. I think he's out of fuel. Mick Muller, take a bow, rookie mistake.
It's been known to happen.
He's probably got Dave Jansen doing his pit crew for him. So the gap to Ben is down to 1.1 second, but we're on the last lap now. So I think, keep it on the track, Ben. You've got it in the bag.
I'll tell you, Patrick's holding off Tony Klusterman pretty well, but of course Tony's wounded.
And well done, Ben Gillet.
All right, great job.
And well done as well to Adam Delmont. Second ever race and second position. Harold
Excellent.
Stadler in third.
Harold gets a podium.
Yeah, Nikolai 4th, Gary Croft in 5th. Patrick finishes in 6th. Tony managed to get back up to 7th.
Picked up 16 spots.
Yeah, Lane in 8th, Rich in 9th, Nassio in 10th. Ronald racing in Socks Moons in 11th. Johnny comes home 12th. Mick Muller, I don't know how to fill my car up with fuel, 13th. And I don't believe the rest of the guys started. So, Bill, first ever win, V8 ESC for Ben. Thoroughly deserved. Second position for Adam Delmont in only his second ever race in the V8, and Harold Stadler bags another podium. That was a bit of an unexpected result.
I think it's brilliant to have 2 guys that aren't usually up there. I mean, Adam, of course, is new, but, Ben has always kind of been in the fight, but never been that close and never won in this series anyway. And I think it's wonderful. I'm sure it's going to, I know Ben like you do, and I'm sure it's going to give him a heck of a boost, no doubt about it. And congratulations to Adam for coming home second. And like you said, in his second only race with, what is probably the most difficult car to drive in this iRacing. And of course, Harold Stadler gets a podium. Nice battle between Harold, Nikolai, and Gary. It was an excellent battle. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was a wonderful race.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you there, Bill. There was something going on from start to finish, including the unfortunate coming together with Tony and Johnny. And again, just to plug tomorrow's podcast, which just happens to be with myself, Tony, and Johnny. I'm sure we can slip that in somewhere and, see what happens. So, just to wrap this race up, big congratulations to Ben. Thoroughly deserved. I hate to say I told you so, but I've said to Ben for at least 2 years that if he gets his head down, put some effort into it, he'll get the race results. And guess what, Ben? I'm right again. Um,
Told you
Adam
so. Told
Delmont,
you so.
Adam Delmont, basically joined the series about 3 minutes before we launched tonight. And, fantastic second place. And Steady Eddie, Harold Stadler, in many people's eyes, most improved driver. Another podium. I loved that race. Bring on race 3.
Totally agree. So after Harold Stadler, we had Nikolai Bogatrov, Gary Croft, Patrick Charette, Tony Klusterman, Lane O'Connor, Rich Warmington, Ignacio Pineno, Ronald Racing and Sox Moon, Johnny Brandon, and Mick Mueller. So looking forward to the third one.
Most definitely. So, folks, join us again in about 20 minutes, where we will have a third and final full reverse grid race from the tight Oulton Park Foster's layout. Catch you very shortly. So, welcome back to our third and final race of the Racetech V8 ESC Sprint Series, brought to you live from Oulton Park Foster Circuit, broadcast by ECA Racing TV. Pete Bingham sadly hasn't joined us in the booth. I'm hearing rumours that he's had his hair cut and he's now in for some anal bleaching. But I'm glad to say I still have certain Abraham Lincoln's right-hand man, Bill Switzer, with me.
Yeah, thanks, Clyde. Welcome back, everybody. Yeah, I guess I wouldn't say Abraham Lincoln. I'd more say quasi ZZ Top, but that's okay.
I was talking more age, Bill, to be honest. But
Yeah, okay, true.
We still have Silent Sam in the booth with us. So we are back for race 3. We have another full reverse grid, smaller grid for this race. Mick Muller is on pole position. Now, we believe Mick ran out of fuel in the last race. We will get it confirmed. Johnny Brandon, who had his coming together with Tony right at the start, is starting alongside Mick. And Racing in Socks Moons will be in third position on the grid. So, Bill, I don't suppose anyone would bet against Johnny Brandon winning this race, starting from second position?
Well, I would say that's a pretty good bet, but you never know what's going to happen. I mean, Johnny could have a misfortune. Hopefully, he looks a little sharper in this race than he has so far. And, well, in all due respect, they had a coming together in the last race, he and Tony. But, yeah, as a good bet, he should probably take this one.
And, going back to Tony. So Tony is starting, 5 places behind Johnny? And if race 1 was anything to go by, and Tony's seemingly, 8/10 of a lap quicker pace than Johnny, if Tony can dispatch Lane, Rich, Ignacio, and Ronald in, quick succession, perhaps Johnny's not going to have it all his own way.
Absolutely correct. It's a definite possibility, and we know the skill that Tony has in driving this vehicle, and it's certainly possible. But it ought to be interesting. As we know, no matter the skill of the driver, this is a difficult car to pass, especially on a course like the Foster's course here. So it should be pretty interesting. I believe we have a cooled down track, so maybe things will be a little different. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, so, third and final session, coming to you from sunset conditions. Hopefully people watching on the broadcast and those watching on +1 later on, and Dave in the morning, you can see the headlights on the cars. It does make it trickier for the drivers. It's harder to spot your braking areas and things like that. Ben, winner of race 2, starting at the back of the grid. How far's he going to get up? What was that race 2 win? Luck? Was it speed? Was it, a bit of both? Can he get up to the middle of the grid, or, even up to the podium, Bill?
Well, Ben has a lot of skill. Unfortunately, sometimes it goes south like it does with all of us, but I think Ben can gain positions, whether he's got the ability to get to a podium starting from the back at this point. I really don't think so, but the field is a little bit smaller this time, so it's a possibility he can get up there. I would say he's got a good chance of being maybe a top 5er if he keeps it together and performs like he did in the last race. Can't disagree with you. One to watch for me will be Adam Delmont. In the break, had a quick chat with Adam on Facebook. Obviously, first time in the car for him. Absolutely loving it. He's going to race with us in the main series as well. So, Sprint Series is bringing new drivers in, as it was intended to.
and I better shut up because we're going to start to grid.
Yeah, it's good to hear that Adam Delmont's happy.
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant it's good to hear that I'm going to shut up.
No. Gridding, okay. Okay, looks like we got Michael Muller on the pole. Johnny Brandt. They show Johnny Brandon in second place. That's not right, is it?
Yeah, Johnny's in second.
Okay, Ronald Mood's in third.
We're away.
Sorry.
Oh, cracking start from Johnny Brandon.
Oh, yeah.
And who was that followed him through? Ignacio's followed him straight through into second place.
Whoa, there he goes.
And then lost
into the guardrail hard.
Yeah, I think he got a couple of wheels on the grass there.
Harold's off, and Ronald Moons went off as well, but Ronald Racing in Socks is back on.
Rich warming up as well.
Doesn't appear to have any damage.
I think Rich Warmingham and Mick Muller had a bit of door banging, and Rich came off work. Yeah, Tony's. Yeah, Tony's up to third place and nearly lost it. Mick's putting the pressure back on him. Barbecue in the pit lane.
Uh-oh.
Oh, Tony.
Whoa!
I don't know if you catch that one on the replay, Sam. It looked horrible. Tony Klosterman and Lane O'Connor. I think Tony took too much of the curb, bounced across the track into Lane. Let's just have a look at this replay. Yeah, I think it's a little bit further on.
Mick Mueller's had a crash, just sailed off the course.
There's a lot of crashing in this race.
Looks like a classic Johnny and Tony shaping up here. Gary Croft shows being in third, 4 seconds behind at this.
So let's, we've got Johnny in first, we've got Tony in second. Gap over the line last time was 1.3 seconds. Let's see if this Tony Klosterman pace is true. I think we're just about to see a replay. No, we missed it. Have a look, folks. Wind the video back. Have a look for yourselves. So, Gary Croft's in the wall.
Yeah, Ben Gillet's up to fourth.
I've got Ben in third now.
Well, if Gary went off, yeah. Did you say Gary was in the wall? I missed that one.
Yeah, Gary was in. Yeah, he was following. I think he was following Ben or Mick.
Had to be Mick.
That must be Ben. Yeah, and just seemed to just lose it all on his own.
Tony's getting closer to Johnny now.
Yeah, 0.7 of a second last time across the line. Johnny Brandon is one of the best drivers that I've seen at defending, so this could get very interesting. Okay, so we're on board with Tony. It'd be interesting to be inside Tony's head at the moment. Normally Tony would go for half a gap with Johnny, but after the accident in race 2, do you reckon it's possible that Tony might hold back a little bit? Bill, forgot your name there. My mind's gone.
Oh, he just got into the back of him. He redressed though. He let him go. Yeah, I have to tell you, I think Tony's going to be a little more cautious this time after he banged into the back of him, made me a liar. But yeah, I think he'll be a little more cautious this time.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Tony's just answered that question for us.
Yeah. He lost a little ground on that little come together back.
Hopefully Johnny hasn't got too much damage from that.
I don't think either one of them got much damage out of that one. Fortunately,
I think... Go on, Ben.
Fortunately, Tony, when he got into the back of him, kind of backed out pretty quickly, and let Johnny recover. Here's what they came for.
Oh, yeah, obviously Johnny isn't a slow driver, but I know from personal experience with, having a fast guy behind me, I think sometimes the fast guys don't realise how fast or how much faster they are than the slow guys at the apex of the corner, and that's where a lot of that, banging into from behind comes. Because us slower guys are just that much slower through the apex.
Most definitely, I agree with you. And also, they have a tendency to, sometimes your breaking point is a little different than theirs too. And of course, they're coming in at a greater pace than you. And a lot of times that's another place you get together.
But again, in my eyes, and I know there's been a big discussion last week about this on Discord. To me, it is always the fault of, or 99% of the time, the fault of the driver behind. If the car in front brakes earlier than expected, you've got to allow for that, being the faster car behind.
Well, that's always been the case, but of course, when you're in an accident and you're contending and your adrenaline's up, as well as I do that. You look at it differently. If you really look at it afterwards, you realize that the passing car has the responsibility of passing you safely.
Yeah, exactly. Point from last week's races, at Interlagos, I was racing with Ant, pulled in behind Pete to try and get a bit of a tow to get past Ant. And Pete hit the brakes because of something that was going on. Oh, Tony's done it again.
Yep, same deal. Oh, look at that. He's going to let him go.
I think they're going to let Ben win this.
Ben's got a good chance. There he goes. What the hell's he doing? He's getting the slow down? Wow. Tony dropped back to about fifth.
Yeah, again, don't get me wrong. Tony's done the right thing.
Yep.
He's done the wrong thing by hitting Johnny, but he's done the right thing by giving him the place back. But unfortunately, it's cost them both another couple of places as well.
Yep.
So just going back to what I was saying, yeah. So Pete's, hit the brakes at least 100 meters before the normal braking point. I've tried to react, tried to miss Pete, hit the brakes harder, and just gone into Ant. And although I could put the blame on Pete and say he was braking too early, ultimately I was the car making the pass. I crashed into somebody. It was my fault.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, so we have Mary Jackson on the chat on the stream. I'm guessing that's Chris using his weekend name.
So am I correct? Lane O'Connor is in first place?
We've got Lane, Yeah, Lane first,
Lane,
Ben
Ben.
second, Patrick, and Ronald, all ahead of the Brandon Kloosterman "You Turn Me, I'll Turn You" competition.
So, a matter of fact, Johnny waited also, huh, for Tony to catch up. Tony,
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. It looked, it looked like Johnny was pissed off and probably hovering over the escape key. Tony had stopped. Obviously, it was his fault, the accident, to let Johnny go past. And in the meantime, four other guys have just sailed past him and said, "Thank
Yeah.
you."
Yeah. Whoa. Tony almost got in the back of Johnny again.
It's just going to be interesting to see how this ends. I've got a feeling it's going to end with tears. I think either Tony's going to hit Johnny for good, or he's going to hit the brakes so hard trying to avoid Johnny, he's going to end up spinning himself out. I don't know if Ronald moved out of the way there or slid out of the way, but I think that's all Johnny. Yeah, all Johnny can do at the moment is get cars between him and Tony.
Well, one thing's for certain, Tony sure wants by, that's for sure.
The trouble is, this battle's so good. We're not, look at. Oh, I'm certainly not concentrating on any other battle. Seems to be getting dark very quick as well.
Yeah.
Do love these sunset races.
Don't everybody talk at once, huh?
Oh, Tony! Oh, I don't know what to say.
Well, up front, Ben's got a pretty good battle going with Lane. He's a little bit behind him, but doing a heck of a job. I'm impressed with Ben's performance today, I have to tell you.
Yeah, I must admit, yeah, he's knuckled down and he's doing his thing, and it's working for him. So, although Lane is pulling away from him, a first and a second for Ben in 3 races is a hell of a night's work.
Yep, Lane put 3/10 on him that time.
I just had another look at that Tony and Johnny incident. I'll have a look at it through sober eyes as well tomorrow. And at the moment, I'm heading down the lines of Tony Kloosterman. You need to have a word with yourself. But again, let's plug the podcast. Isn't that going to be fun tomorrow night?
Well, you're going to be in the middle of a hornet's nest there.
With a big stick to stir it up with.
Now, Johnny Brandon is in the pits, right? Yeah. All right.
I think Johnny may have had enough. Now, the scoreboard over the line said Lane had 1.3 seconds on Ben, but on screen he looks a lot closer. I know it doesn't update until we go over the line again, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Lane has made a mistake or Ben has found some speed. I don't know. Perhaps it is. It is right. Yeah, he's actually pulled out a little bit. It must have just been that section of the track where he looked closer.
Yeah, he might have closed up a little bit, closer than 1.3 or 4 or whatever it is for that corner. And Patrick Sideways Charette's holding on in third place, another 7 seconds back from Ben.
Yeah, he's got Tony closing on him. I don't know what Tony's got left on the front of his car, if anything. I would guess the engine's in the back by now. Ben took 2/10 out of Lane in that lap. There's still enough time for Ben to do something. Tony's putting all kinds of pressure now on Patrick. And he's done him, I think. Yes.
Yep, you got by him. I know it's dark, but Tony's car looks pretty clean, actually.
The only excuse I can think of from Tony, and maybe Sam can help us out with the cameras here, if we could get a rear view of Tony's car and just make sure he got in the right car and it doesn't say Jackson on the back. Okay, so Sam has confirmed that Tony is in fact in Tony's car.
Johnny Brandon's made a comment on Discord. Very interesting. He kind of claims that he had a fun night.
Ben is definitely closing on Lane. Ben can smell victory number 2.
All right.
Ben can also smell his tyres catching fire.
Got to be getting close to the end, too.
Yeah, we've got 2 or 3 laps left.
Okay.
I think Ben's about a second back now. I think the biggest gap was 1.4, but he's got a couple of tenths on both of the last laps. Don't know whether Lane is just, driving within himself, trying to bring it home, or whether he went too hard too soon and he's burnt his tyres up.
He doesn't look too squirrely, so I think you're right.
Yeah, it's always hard to know what to do with these sprint races. Do you take it easy at the start and save some tyres from the end?
Oh.
Ben he's giving it the big one. Party at Ben's house tonight.
Yep, no doubt about that. Come on now, Ben, bring it home.
Not that Bill's biased or anything.
No, no disrespect.
Other
to
drivers
Lane.
are available.
Yeah, Lane's doing a great job as well. I'm sure Lane wouldn't mind a victory in our little sprint series either.
Ooh, Lane, keep it together.
Wow. Thought he was going to lose that one.
Final lap.
They are close now. Oh, my.
Oh, Ben, that's green. Oh, whoa, whoa,
Benny.
whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah, there was nothing malicious, and well done, Ben, for
Yep.
hanging back. And
Yep, good.
although that's brought Tony right into it. Well, I wonder if Tony can bowl a spare here and get both of them.
No. He's coming like the hammers of hell, too. Wow, he is close.
This is a cracking finish to the race, guys. Well done, Lane.
No
Well
doubt.
done, Ben.
Good job. Excellent job.
So, Leno, first win in the series, I believe. Ben Gillet starting at the back. You know, brilliant drive, get up to second. Tony in third, not saying any more. Yeah, what a race, especially up the front with those two guys.
That was a great finish. Packer Charette, one of our newcomers, came home in fourth. Ronald Racing and Sox Moon, fifth. Harold Stadler, sixth. He picked up 10 spots on that race, too. Not too bad, Harold. Good job. Gary Croft in seventh. Johnny Brandon in eighth. Mick Muller, ninth. Rich Warmingham, 10th. And Ignacio Panino, 11th. And thank you to all our newcomers, dude. You did a great job. Nice to have you. Hope you come back.
Yeah, well said, Bill. Well said. Before we get drivers in for interviews, we like to have our driver of the event. So, Bill, you know, we've had a couple of new winners. We've had some new guys driving really well. Who's your nomination for driver of the night?
Yeah, the man in black, Ben Galley. He really impressed me tonight. He been away from this for a while. Didn't have really kind things to say about the V8, but I'll tell you, I think he had pretty darn good control of it tonight. Kept us cool, did a good job. Had one little mishap, but set it straight at the end. And hats off to him. He did a wonderful job.
Yeah, and I think for once in my life, Bill, I'm going to agree with you. I picked Lane last time. I could have picked Lane again this time with his race win, but Ben winning race 2, and then the drive from the back could have won race 3 as well. I think I'm going to go with Ben as well for my driver of the night. Silent Sam, what do you think?
I think Ben did a great job, but I will not pick him because you both already picked him. And I will go for the newcomers, Patrick Charette. He showed a really good pace, and if he can keep the car straight in the racing line, I think he might catch the guys in front in the future races.
Yeah, agree there, Sam. I think Patrick is, one of the naturals in anything he drives, and a bit of seat time in this car, and he'll be right up there. So at the moment, we have a certain Mr. Lane O'Connor in the interview room, so I shall bring him in. Lane, can you hear us?
His microphone's muted, I believe.
Lane, can you hear us?
I can. I can now.
Excellent. Well, first of all, congratulations on your victory in race 3. I believe it is your first victory in the series, although I'm sure you'll correct me if I'm wrong. It was a bit of argy-bargy with Johnny and Tony again, which obviously let you guys through. But, the last 2 or 3 laps, Ben reeled you in. Then you had to come in together. Ben did the right thing, let you get back on track in front. That brought Tony back into it. Just from our point of view, it was, really good fun to watch. What was it like for you watching that in your mirrors?
Well, exactly what you just said. It was frightening. I've got to thank Tony and John for having them coming together like that. This wouldn't have been possible. No, but seriously, once I think it was Ben Gillette had a wee. I think he had an off on one of the corners. Once I got past him, I think I gained about a second on 1.2, something like that. And I thought if I can keep this second, it's going to be very hard for him to pass. So I was trying to keep a hold of my tyres, and it was working well. And then I was getting a wee bit too careful in the last couple of laps. He reeled me in, but I've got to give him credit for letting me by, because I think he locked up and quarter panelled me. I think that's what happened.
Yeah, for us, it looked like he put a couple of tyres on the outside, and as he sort of came back onto the track and gripped up, that's obviously when he made contact with you. But, as you say, it is in our driver rules. If you make a pass like that, slow down, let the other car pass, and, go at it again. And Ben did, exactly what we asked. Some great defending from yourself. I did mention on the broadcast, I didn't know whether you'd burnt your tyres up or whether you was just, trying to save the car and bring it home. But at the end, it was obvious that you were saving, because Ben was just, under braking. He was getting so much time on you. Without Tony being in that fight, with you two just going at it, that last lap would have been, epic. But I think, because of that coming together, Tony then caught up, and Ben was, stuck between a rock and a hard place. He didn't know whether to attack you or defend from Tony.
Yeah. To be fair, if he'd attacked me, he probably would have got me, because it felt as if the car was gone by that time. I don't know what damage was done, but it just would not turn for that final turn. And if he'd have gone for it, he might have had a go at me. But I could see all sorts of people arriving in that last lap, and I was the old heart was going in, I can assure you. But I've got to say, it was a great race, and as I say, it was great credit to Ben for lifting off and letting it go through.
Yeah,
Lane.
definitely. Go on, Bill.
Lane, congratulations on your first win. You did an excellent job. I was really impressed the way you paced yourself. Ben closed in on you a couple times. You kept it about 1 second, 1.2 seconds ahead, and like Clyde mentioned, we were trying to figure out whether you were kind of keeping that general distance and trying to save your tires. But on that last lap, or the second to last lap, coming across near the start finish line, I saw your car get really squirrely, and I thought, his tires are gone. But you did an outstanding job, and again, congratulations. You picked up 6 spots in that race, and you did a hell of a job, mate.
Cheers, Bill. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I was definitely just keeping the pace, keeping my pace, and it was keeping it that second. But as you say, I did go a bit squirrely over the line. I think that cooked up the tyres, and it put doubt in my mind, and I didn't really want to push it. And that's obviously how Ben got a wee bit of run on me after that.
So let me ask you, Lane, what do you think about next week and the official? Are you going to do anything differently, or are you going to still play the same game plan, or what do you expect to happen?
I'm definitely going to use the same game plan. I noticed that there was a lot of people were cooking up the tyres. And it's so hard to pass here. It's unless the guy in front of you makes a mistake, and you're really confident, yeah, it's so hard to pass. So I think it's a case of sticking to my pace, keeping hold of the tyres, and seeing what happens, basically.
Well, it's got to really be hard. Being a competitor myself, it's got to be really hard to keep patient on a track like this, because you can get by the guy in front of you, but unless you make a diving move or something, and that doesn't always work, as we both know. So, best to you, man. You did a wonderful job. As I said, it was really brilliant.
Cheers, thanks a lot, Bill.
Okay, Lane, so before we let you go, anybody you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I'd like to thank yourselves, of course, Racetech, Simorto, Model Cars, the XVR, my teammates, and Johnny Brandon for having a coming together and let me go. Cheers, guys.
Yeah, well done, mate. Congratulations on your first win, and we'll see you next week.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, Lane.
Tony. Where do we start?
Why don't we start with race 1?
Let's start with race 1, shall we? Race 1. You just left everybody behind. I think you won the race by 16 seconds, probably averaged out at 0.8 seconds per lap. Phenomenal pace. I did say in the broadcast, we like a bit of a conspiracy theory in here. Was Mr. Brandon filling up sandbags and didn't want to show his true pace for next weekend? Or was you just lightning quick round this track and Johnny's not going to have an answer for you?
Well, I'd like to think I'm lightning quick, but Johnny told me after 3 laps that he was more concerned about having an incident-free race than putting in time. So he was comfortable in second place, and I don't think we really saw the pace that Johnny can have.
Okay, so obviously congratulations on that win. Race 2. Obviously, there was a coming together with yourself and Johnny. From our view on the broadcast, it looked innocent. It looked like you took too much of that inside curb, bounced across the track, obviously into Johnny, at which point the cars had melded together and, the pair of you disappeared off sideways. Was it any different for you or was it as it looked?
The line I took is the line I always take, and it was obviously a lot faster than Johnny, and I did get in the back of him. I thought that he had gathered it up, and obviously he must have got his tires on the grass, and unfortunately, it wasn't intentional by any stretch of the imagination. But on this track, there's in Cascades, Foster's, and I think it's Knickerbrook. Those 3 corners are where you have to make up an awful lot of time in order to make a move through Droids or Lodge Corner. So, it's unfortunate. I apologize, but, might be some hard feelings.
Yeah, like I say, it certainly didn't look intentional on the broadcast. Race 3. Where do we start on that? You had three comings together with Johnny on that one. Again, you looked phenomenally quicker apex speed than what Johnny had. And I mentioned in the broadcast that being a slow driver, sometimes I'm not saying Johnny's a slow driver, but sometimes the fast guys don't realise just how slow the slow guys are on the apex of the corner, and that just breeds a lot of coming together. But on the broadcast, I can't hide it. It did look bad.
Yeah, there's no argument from me on that. And the third incident, going into T1, I absolutely completely lost it. And that was a driving error on my part. On the other two, I'm just carrying that much more speed than Johnny is in that area. And it's a passing opportunity. And if I have an opportunity, I'm going to go for it. I think Johnny would do the same. He actually did do the same in race 1 in the first lap. So, we'll race each other hard. We don't intend to hit each other or, to have a coming together. On the first one, I actually didn't even hit him, but, iRacing's a funny game sometimes. The second time I definitely did because mid-corner, I just carried that much more speed. So, it's a bad weekend. I won't be around for the next triple sprint race at Watkins Glen, so Johnny can have a free track.
I'm sure he'll appreciate that. We'll move on from that. Obviously, there'll be, I'm pretty sure, a few discussions between yourself and Johnny. And I may or may not bring it up in tomorrow's first ever podcast.
It's set up perfectly.
Yeah, right.
But to be fair, credit to you, Tony, for coming on. And a lot of people would have, after some incidents like that, shied away from the interview. Bill, anything you need to add?
Yeah, to your credit, though, Tony, every time you two came together, you redressed the situation, and I commend you for that. And also, as we all know, when you got two people that are very competitive like you and Johnny, those things happen, unfortunately. And like you said, I know you, and I know it's not intentional. I know Johnny pretty well too, and neither one of you guys do any of that intentionally. And I want to absolutely tell you, you absolutely dominated the first race. I just couldn't believe the difference of time between you and Johnny. I really, as Chris calls you, the magician of Oulton Park, and I'm beginning to believe that you really did a bang-up job, and a lot of credit to you, mate.
Thanks a lot. Oulton Park is one of my favorite tracks, so it's nice to have speed here. It only lasts for one weekend.
Yep, I hear you.
And just at the end of race 3, Tony, as well, I got to mention this because we was obviously concentrating on the front battle between Lane and Ben. And you was, I think, 5 or 6 seconds behind the pair of them. Ben got a couple of wheels on the grass, had a coming together with Lane. Lane spun. Ben stopped to redress it, let Lane go again, and all of a sudden, the Kloosterman lights were bearing down on the pair of them. Your eyes must have lit up and gone, I'm going to win this race somehow.
Well, I was wondering what was going on up there. I saw lights pointing in all different directions, and I thought, oh, maybe the seas will part. But no, I tried going into the last corner to see if I could make up one more spot, but it wasn't going to be.
Okay, so moving on, next weekend, Oulton Park is a track that suits you, so obviously it will be removed from the calendar for the next 3 years. Johnny, Foggy, the faster guys that were missing from this race or this night of racing. Do you still expect to have the same sort of advantage over them? I know personally that the work that you guys put into setups, is there anything else you can squeeze out of the car to maintain that advantage?
Yes. For next weekend, the first race, my intention obviously is to get the pole and just gap. I think that's the most important thing to happen, is to work on a good qualifying set. I turned to 56.7 earlier today, and so I know that there's more speed in the car. I just have to do it in qualifying conditions. And then for race 2 and race 3, it really, I think it's just a matter of survival. I probably won't be as aggressive as I was today in the fun races. Next weekend, the reverse will probably be much larger, and I think we'll just try and drive through attrition.
Yeah, and you know, from Johnny's point of view, you know, I don't know whether Johnny was holding back and he's got something extra for next week. Is it even this early in the season? Is it a, you know, is your mindset score as many points as you can, or is it just make sure I score more points than the people that I know are going to be up there at the end of the season?
I'm going to take a very deliberate approach to it this year and make sure that every weekend is a good points weekend.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, because we've laughed about your as we call it, lack of luck over the last sort of 12 months. You know, if there's a crash somewhere on the track, you know, you will find it and you know, come out with panels missing and stuff like that. You know, I personally think that you know, the drivers that win the championship are the ones that continue to score good points week in, week out. So, you know, does that, you know, you've just said you're not going to be as aggressive in the main series as you are in the sprint series. Does that really affect your mindset that much? You know, that you drive totally different between the two different series?
No, I don't think so. I think that I'll drive the same, but I will be a little bit more careful around some of the traffic.
Okay, so Bill, anything else you want to add before we say goodbye to Tony?
Well, this indirectly affects Tony, but I have to tell you, your compadre Chris Jackson in that first race picked up 11 spots, did a magnificent job, showed up late, didn't practice. He's really come a long way, Tony. I have to tell you. You know, he used to have the nickname Crash Jackson, but you can't call him that anymore. I'll tell you, he did a great job.
He's passed that on to me. But yes, he has done a fabulous job over the last year improving, and I'm sure that we're going to see him vie for a lot of podiums this year.
It's all from your tutelage, though, right, Tony?
I wouldn't say that. But, Chris has got some natural talent.
Yeah, I know he does. I'm just busted you. Okay. It was a pleasure watching you race, and great performance in the first race, Tony. Well done.
Thanks.
So before we let you go, Tony, and we're going to wrap up because we've got nobody else to interview, which is good. Yeah, anyone you'd like to thank?
Well, all our team members, everybody works hard trying to get the setups right for the week. Simability, or we represent Glenn Sidman and the Simability group. They do an awful lot of great work for people that need some driving assists, and Racetech for sponsoring our series. We're very grateful for that. Thanks to ECO Racing for the broadcast, and obviously for you guys for all the work that you're doing.
Okay, thank you, and Tony, we thank you for coming in. I know you're always up for an interview, but like I said earlier, some people shy away if they've had a less than perfect night. But you've come in, put your hands up, and we move on to next week, and there'll be more cars on the grid. The racing will be harder, and we move on. So thank you, Tony.
Okay, let's talk to you later. Yes, bye.
Cheers, Tony.
Okay, so guys, there's nobody else waiting for an interview, so we'll start to wrap things up. Bill, last words from you. We see a dominant win in race 1, a new winner in race 2, a new winner in race 3. Some very good performances from guys new to the series, who we will hopefully as well see in the main series. What's going to happen next week? Come on, get your crystal balls out.
Well, I don't know what's going to happen next week, but all I can say is this was an exciting event. Even though the field was a little small, we, like you mentioned, 2 new winners. We have 3 new guys that really did a great job. Obviously, they know how to handle the vehicle, and I certainly hope they come back. They did a great job. I hope they had fun. Nice to see some of the Phantom guys back in the series again, and have one of them win, which was kind of nice. And of course, it's always a pleasure to work with you guys. Ben, with Clyde and Sam, and of course, wish Pete could have stayed around longer, but everybody's got a life. So, but it was great. And next week, it's gonna be a crapshoot. We never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we'll wrap things up now. Big thank you to everybody that raced tonight. Thank you to Racetech for sponsoring the series. Thanks to Silent Sam and ECA Racing TV for putting on the broadcast. Thank you to Mr. Switzer for joining me in the booth all night. Mr. Bingham, hope the anal bleaching went well and was worth missing the last 2 races for. Nothing left to say from me. We'll join you all next week when I'll be back behind the wheel, as will Sam, racing in the main series. We'll be back here on ECA Racing TV in 2 weeks' time for the next instalment of the Sprint Series. So just leaves me to say it's good night from me, and it's good night from him.
Cheers, everybody. Thanks for stopping by.